il est temps que les syndicats recentrent leurs actions sur leur mission essentielle. J'annonce donc que le ministre du Travail va déposer bientôt un projet de loi pour moderniser le régime syndical au Québec en faveur des travailleurs, des citoyens et du Québec.
The message to unions from Premier François Legault yesterday, of course, the inaugural speech for a new session at the National Assembly coming on Tuesday. Legault taking aim at unions, saying that his Labour Minister, Jean Boulet, will table a bill to modernize how unions are run. Now, our next guest in studio is Raphaël Melançon, and he recently penned a piece on the Quebec government targeting unions. Mr. Melançon, welcome back to our show. A frequent Big Five panelist, by the way, so thanks to get a little extra.
My
Raphael.
pleasure.
So what's your take on the Quebec government going after unions? Now, unions are powerful in this province.
Very powerful.
For a long time, they've been very powerful. I don't know if you want to...
For a long time.
You pick a fight with unions.
And their power has been consistently increasing over the years. Mm-hmm. So, to the eyes of many, including me, they have become too powerful, and they are wielding power not just to defend the workers' rights, but also they're intervening in elections. And that, to the eyes of many, it is an issue because, well, first of all, for the members, they're not always consulted before their union. Their leaders take a stance on certain social issues, for instance, such as the debate on the wearing of religious symbols.
You're talking about Bill 21 because the teachers' union, the big teachers' union, has been funding the fight against Bill 21.
But the thing is, they haven't asked their members directly to vote on this issue. So is it really, they pretend they are speaking on behalf of their members and that they represent them, but in the end, do they really speak and have the voice of their members behind them? I'm not entirely sure about that, because if you ask a lot of their members, they're living in remote regions where most of them vote for either the CAQ or the PQ, which are obviously in favor of Bill 21. So those members, but a lot of them don't find themselves in the stance.
Let me play devil's advocate, right? Yeah. Because why not? We got to have the process here. There are those that say, well, these union members, you do vote for your leadership, right? Mm-hmm. These are the people that are running the unions.
Well,
and they've made those decisions, and we see this it's not just in Quebec. We see it around the world where unions do get involved politically. They endorse parties. Some people would argue it's part of a union's duty.
That's right. But the thing is, not everywhere in the world do they have the so-called RAND formula. So I'm just going to explain it, okay? So what they do here in Canada since 1946, we've had this Supreme Court ruling that says basically unions, whether you've been consulted or not, whenever you're hired in a business for a company or an employer where there's already a union, it's already unionized workers, you are forced to be a member of that union, and automatically they're going to come and take dues directly from your paycheck. You're not asked, or do you agree or not? You just have to pay for that. So the issue here is about how the members, the union members' money is handled, and if you have no right to being heard, to having your voice heard, and to say, you know what, I'm not going to contribute to that. Well, they're coming to take money directly from your pocket, and they're using this for political purposes. So what the Legault government is saying here is we are going to table a bill to bring unions to focus on their core mission, which is, of course, to defend the workers' rights, to negotiate agreements, to manage grievances, but not to intervene in politics. And if you still want your union to intervene in politics, if you agree with their positions, then you're going to have an optional contribution. You can add up, you can opt in, and you can support your union's positions.
So more express consent for some of these secondary missions of the unions,
absolutely,
right? As Legault was saying, the primary mission of unions, and so this is a focus on those secondary missions.
And it's also, let's not forget, we have a Charter of Rights and Freedom here in this country. We have the right to associate, but there should be also a right to dissociate. Whenever you disagree with what your union is doing with your money, whenever you disagree with their positions, you should have the option to opt out.
Well, somebody should go to the courts, because, boy, the courts love opining on
it's
charter
going to get
rights.
to the courts. Believe me, it's going to get there.
Can I ask you on the political side of things? Because historically in this province, unions have supported the PQ.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if any of this is a way, you look at the polls, right? The PQ's soaring high, but of course we have a different type of PQ.
Right.
We have a Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon and other members of his party that are talking about efficiency, and people are saying they've made a virage à droite, a move towards the right. So
Identity as well.
Yeah, identity as well. So, but I'm just wondering if this is a bit of, hey, you know what, unions, you've already supported the PQ. Let's try and cut you off at the knees there.
Not really, Elias, because I see unions being much closer these days, like in the past decade, for instance, much closer to Québec Solidaire and the NDP on the federal stage, or the Bloc Québécois, for instance, than they are to the PQ, to today's PQ. Back under, of course, René Lévesque and maybe even Jacques Parizeau, the PQ was much more leaning towards social democracy. Nowadays, it's no longer the same party. Yes, it's still a sovereignist party, but on other issues, they are leaning to the center-right, I would say.
The last thing I want to get to is that the CAQ, they're so low in the polls, right? The lowest we've ever seen them, right? When you are so low, there's nowhere else to go but up. Do you believe that François Legault, how much strife and fights is François Legault willing to accept over the next year to blow stuff up at this point?
Well, a lot of people are saying this is a distraction right now to bring people's focus somewhere else than the problems of this government at the moment. So yes, it could be seen as that, but I also see this as a bold move because you know what? François Legault at the moment, if you look at the latest projections and polls, he's got nothing to lose. If an election were held tomorrow, zero seats tomorrow. So he's got nothing to lose. So yes, those fights, these are, when he talks yesterday during his inaugural speech, when he talked about improving efficiency, reducing bureaucracy. These are all things we've heard from François Legault before. Like he promised this in 2018 when he was first elected.
Would he risk thousands of people, union people in the streets, shutting things down and push that hard? Would he risk that?
I believe that when you look at it, for people who vote for the CQ, who could be tempted to vote again for the CQ in the next election, this is appealing. This is interesting, and this might be a way for François Legault to reach out to those people. For instance, people who are interested in voting for Éric Duhaim's Conservative Party, Quebec Conservative Party at the moment, especially in the Greater Quebec City region, where the CQ could lose some seats to Éric Duhaim. That is something that might bring people back to the CQ right now.
Raphaël Melançon, political analyst for CTV Montreal, and a big fiver on this show at 9:05. Thanks so much for coming in this morning.
My pleasure, Elias.
Raphaël, of course, is also the president and founder of Trafalgar Strategies.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
Or the free iHeartRadio app.